For question 11, we are going into quadratic functions and we are given this quadratic function f of x, and it says that the graph has a maximum point. Alright, a maximum point. So in part A, we are given this unknown p, where p is an integer and this value can be from -2 to 2. So we need to find out this value of p. Right, so here it says p is an integer, right? This is a very important clue because integers mean it is a whole number, which means the value of p cannot be a fraction, cannot be a decimal, it must be a whole number. So means -2, -5, 3, 5, and so on. There's no fractions, there's no decimal points. So if the p can be from -2 to 2, which means the only possible values of p would be -1, 0, and 1, right? It cannot be -2 and 2 because there's no equal sign here. Alright, so if there's no equal sign here, p cannot be -2 and 2. So the three possibilities of p would be these three values. But which one is the true value of p? Right? So we need to look back at the quadratic function here. We need to see where does the p belong to. So here, p belongs to the value of x squared. Right? So what does p represent here? So we need to recall back the characteristics of a quadratic function, right? So this form, it's called the general form. So let's look at the characteristics of a quadratic function when it's in the general form, which is this format. F of x equals to ax squared plus bx plus c, right? So the value of p here is actually the value of a. And let us recall back, what does a represent? Right? So a represents the shape of the graph, right? So if we recall back, if the value of a is a positive value, it will have a smiley face. If a is less than 0, then it will have a sad face. Okay, but how does this relate to maximum point? Because it says this graph has a maximum point, right? So if we go back here, since this is a smiley face, this means that this point, right, this point here is the minimum point. So when a is greater than 0, it will have a minimum point. So for a less than 0, it will be the opposite, right? Because it's a sad face, so there will be this point, and this point is actually the maximum point. Right? So since this graph has a maximum point, this means that the value of a, or meaning the value of p, is less than 0. Okay, so if p is less than 0, means that there will be only one possibility of p, which is -1. Right? So our answer for a is p equals to -1. For part B, it says using the answer from part A, right, where p equals to -1, we need to find the value of q when the graph touches the x-axis at one point. Right, so in questions in this chapter, if you see touch how many points or roots, then you can think of the discriminant, right? The discriminant is this, b squared -4ac, alright? And as you know, b squared -4ac have three types of results: greater than 0, equal to 0, and less than 0. Okay, so if we see touches the x-axis at one point, which one should it be? Right? So I left you all to have 5 seconds to think about this. And the answer is b squared -4ac equals to 0, right? So if you look at the graph here, you can see that this graph is the only graph that touches the x-axis at 1 point, right? At 1 point. The other two graphs did not touch the axis at 1 point because this one touches 2 points, this one does not touch at all, right? So our answer would be b squared negative 4ac equals to 0. Right? So to use this discriminant, we need to first identify what is the value of b, a, and c first from this quadratic function. Okay, so a here would be the value of x squared, right, which is -1, which is the answer in part A. B would be the value of x, which is -8, and c would be the value that does not have x, which is q. Right, so let us put these three values inside b squared negative 4ac. Okay, so you can match it with the color here, and this would be the result when we substitute all of the values. Right, so now let us simplify it. So -8 squared will be 64, and here we are going to multiply -4 with -1, which would be 4. 4 multiplied with q, so it's positive 4q. Right, and now we are trying to find the value of q, right? So q will be the only thing on the left side, rest of the things move to the other side. So 64 move to the other side, here will be -64, and 4 I move to the other side, so -64 divided by 4 would be -16, and this would be our answer.